5 Emergence of social anthropology. The subject matter of anthropology and its academic profession began as an intersection of natural science and humanities. Social anthropology being part of anthropology, its emergence has been historically linked with the development of other components of anthropology. The emergence of social anthropology has also been closely linked with other disciplines of the social sciences, such as sociology, philosophy, ethnohistory, history, psychology, social psychology, political science, and economics. But the closest discipline of social anthropology is sociology. In view of the highly differentiated subject matter of anthropology, it is rather difficult to comprehensively locate the strands of intellectual development and the emergence of the discipline. Like sociology, the emergence and development of anthropology is said to be directly linked to the scientific development in the Western world. If one considers the existence of the term anthropology many centuries ago, then anthropology is a very old subject. Anthropology is a word which the ancient Greeks had also used. To them, anthropologia occurs in 1595. 13. Immanuel Kant published a book in 1798 entitled Anthropologie in pragmatischer Hinsicht, circa 1983. 3. In the 15th and 16th centuries, the Portuguese and Spaniards wrote chronicles of their conquests of parts of Africa and the New World. These are important anthropological source material. Besides these, the writings of travelers and others, and Rousseau's speculations concerning the noble savage, indicate the change in the intellectual climate. Ibid. The foundation of anthropology has also been dated back to the Greco-Roman Renaissance period, particularly beginning with the writings of Herodotus of Halicarnassus, 484 to 425 BC. According to Vogt, 1975, 7, Herodotus has been even cited as a likely forerunner, if not the father, of ethnography. In fact, Herodotus is mainly remembered for his history of the Persian Wars and the writings of detailed travel narratives from various parts of Western Asia and Egypt, the Scythians on the northern coast of the Black Sea, the Ethiopians, and the peoples of the Indus Valley. C.F. Erickson 2001, 2. The Greek philosophers of the time, particularly Socrates, Plato and Aristotle, also influenced on the study of man and society. Later, the Roman philosopher Marcus Tullius Cicero also significantly contributed to the understanding of human society. After a gap of several centuries, some philosophers began to take interest in the study of society and the state, particularly in the 16th century AD. Some of these scholars include Thomas Hobbes and Machiavelli. Prior to this, mention may be made of the significant contribution of Ibn Khaldun in the 14th century AD on the moral historical philosophy and structural functional analysis of social phenomena. 1.5.1 First phase of development. By 18th century AD, after the experience and influence of the Renaissance in Europe, there were many eminent philosophers who have made immense contributions to the understanding of society, including Rousseau, Vico, Baron de Montesquieu, and John Locke, who dealt with the social phenomena of the time. These earlier works certainly laid the philosophical foundation for the development of the social sciences and the science of human society, including sociology and anthropology. The contribution of the earlier philosophers and scholars has certainly contributed to the emergence and development of anthropology, although they cannot be called anthropology per se. The development of anthropology and social science, which makes departure to the earlier philosophical and historical studies, came into phases. The first phase, 1725 to 1840, philosopher-scientists succeeded in separating the study of man, society, and civilization from history, and thereby formulated a general social science. Vogt, 1975, 41. However, Hobel, 1958, is of the view that anthropology stems primarily from natural science and carries a greater measure of the natural science tradition, p.9, and not from history or philosophy. The problem of its earlier association and the nature of anthropology are such that E. Evans Pritchard, even in the mid-20th century, had to grapple with the situation in British anthropology, particularly social anthropology. On the nature of social anthropology, he states that there is a broad division of opinion between those who regard social anthropology as a natural science and those, like myself, Evans Pritchard, who regards it as one of the humanities. This division is perhaps at its sharpest when relations between anthropology and history are being discussed. Evans Pritchard, 1951, 7.5. Second phase of development. In the second phase, 1840 to 1890, there was transition in the natural sciences from a static equilibrium model to a dynamic model. Its culmination came with the introduction of thermodynamic and Darwinian evolutionary theory, Vogt, 1975, 42. With such a diverse field as anthropology, an attempt was made in the 1860s for integrating into a general anthropological discipline that would engage on the early history of man. By 1870 onward, a distinctive character of anthropology began to manifest itself by unifying physical anthropology, prehistory, and ethnology, cf. Ibid. This period marks the emergence of anthropology into an academic discipline. It is through the inspiration of the triumphs of the scientific method in the physical and organic domain, 19th century anthropologists believed that socio-cultural phenomena were discoverable lawful principles. This conviction joined their interests with the aspiration of a still earlier period, extending back before the social sciences had been named, too. The epochal stirrings of the 18th century Enlightenment and the vision of a universal history of mankind, Harris 1979, 1. However, it emerged as an academic discipline only in the 19th century. The significant factors for the emergence of the discipline is, however, attributed to the various intellectual and socio-political changes taking place in the 18th and 19th centuries in Europe. Some of the important influences include the French Revolution and the Industrial Revolution in Europe. Fred W. Vogt situates the emergence of social cultural anthropology from the route of the emergence of social science. He states, Here can be little doubt that 18th century progressivists laid the foundations for a new discipline, a generalized social science. The fact that their general outline for a natural history of mankind was expanded and refined during the 19th century and served as a model for an anthropological science of culture testifies to the remarkable breakthrough achieved by progressivist social philosophers, scientists, and historians, 1975, 88. Vogt, however, points out the caveat that after considering the eminence of the 18th century progressivists as the forerunners of anthropology, social cultural anthropology, the progressivists themselves ignored the collection of specialized facts, but elevated themselves to the rank of social and cultural theorists. In consequence, they did not have any direct connection with developments that would lead into prehistory, physical anthropology, linguistics, and other anthropological specialties. Yet it was the convergence of these specializations that generated the differentiation of anthropology from the general social science base. Historic and evolutionary processes had been at work in the emergence of the anthropological scientific institution, Vogt 1975, 89. Marvin Harris, a historian of anthropological development, also views that anthropology began as the